Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Logic. In this video is proving invalidity, invalid arguments, in particular the substitution instance. We're going to utilize the substitution instance, and for our first example, get a load of this argument. All Eastern countries are places of turmoil. So, no happy people are in places of turmoil since no happy people are in Eastern countries. Now, how can we examine this argument to see if it's valid or invalid? Well, we're going to use the substitution instance. And the first step in the substitution instance is to take the argument and separate the premise and the conclusion. We're going to take the conclusion and we're going to write it underneath the first two premises. Now notice the word so right here is the conclusion indicator. What follows next is the conclusion, as you see here. And we're going to take this conclusion and we're going to write it down here at the bottom. We're going to have a line separating the conclusion from the premise. So the other two statements here are premises, and the conclusion, we're going to separate that. Okay, so now the next step, you have your argument and you're going to see the terms. Okay, these are the terms here, all this or that, so no of these or that. These are the terms. Now we're going to reduce these terms to letters rather than Eastern countries, writing the whole term Eastern countries. We'll just put an E. Makes it much simpler and smaller. And for places of turmoil, we'll replace it with P, just for the first letter, and so on and so forth. Makes it much easier to evaluate the form. And we'll write the form right here. All E are P, so no H are P, and no H are E, etc. All right, now that you got your argument written out and you got your terms reduced, we're going to replace these terms with new words or new terms. Remember, cats, fish, animals, mammals, our favorite terms. So we're going to replace these terms with these new terms, and we're going to get this argument. Okay, so the idea to prove it invalid is when you have a true premise, true premises and a false conclusion. So all fish are animals, that's true. No cats or fish, is that true? Are cats fish? No cats or fish, that's true. The conclusion is no cats or animals. Now that's false. So if you have true premises and a false conclusion, then the argument is invalid. So again, you take the regular argument, the original argument, you find the form, you change the terms into simpler terms to where you get true premise and a false conclusion. Now if you can get true premise and a false conclusion, then you know that the form is invalid. Now, if the form is invalid, then the original argument is invalid. So as you look at the original argument, rather than dealing with these long terms that might be confusing, you just swap them with things that are simpler to understand or that you know right away: fish, cats, animals, and mammals, so you're not confused with all the jargon. So you find the form, swap it around to see if you can get true premise and a false conclusion. If that's true, then the form's invalid. If the form's invalid, then the original argument is invalid. Very good. Now, your dreaded practice problems. Let's try a couple of practice problems. But before we start, I want to let you know you should press pause. When the time comes, try and work out the problem yourself on paper if you need to, and then press play to see if you got it correctly. That way you can get the most from this class. All right, practice problem 1. Listen to this argument. Some socialist countries are regions of poverty. Since no socialist countries are free trade friendly, and some regions of poverty are free trade friendly. Now that can be quite confusing, but you are going to be an expert at deciphering any and all arguments. And for practice problem number 1, which argument form best fits this argument? Now's the time to press pause, because I'm going to give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's right. Notice the word since lets you know that the last two statements are premises. And now that you have the correct argument form, we're going to take that argument form and we're going to substitute the letters for these terms. We're going to arrange these terms in a way that has true premise and a false conclusion, because true premise and a false conclusion will show that the argument is invalid. All right, now when I say you want to press pause, write down the argument by switching these terms with these letters to where you get true premise and a false conclusion. Write out your argument, Press pause. I'm going to give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's right. True premise on the first one, no fish or cats. True premise on the second one, some mammals are cats. That's true. But the conclusion, some fish are mammals, that's false. And as you already know, true premise and a false conclusion means that the form is invalid. And if the form is invalid, then the original argument is invalid. Very good. All right, here's another practice problem. Listen to this argument. It's confusing. All guilty criminals are people deserving punishment. Hence, no people deserving punishment are mentally ill, for all guilty criminals are mentally ill. Now, what is the argument form of this argument? Press pause, because the answer is 3, 2, 1. If you chose one of these two, that is correct. Notice the word hence is a conclusion indicator, and it'll let you know what follows is the conclusion. Now that you have the correct argument form, you take that argument form and you provide a substitution instance by changing the letters, but with these terms. Now press pause because I'm going to give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's correct. Notice you have true premise and a false conclusion. Shows that the argument form is invalid. And if the argument form is invalid, the original argument is invalid. Very good. All right, we're beginning to move along pretty fast now. Here's another argument. Listen to this argument. All lawyers are hustlers, and some hustlers are not criminals. Thus, some lawyers are not criminals. Okay, what you want to do, take this argument and reduce the terms, substitute the terms with letters, and let me know which of these argument forms is the correct argument form for this argument. Press pause. The answer is in 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's right. If you chose that argument form, you got it right. Notice the word thus is a conclusion indicator. You'll notice what follows next is the conclusion. And now that you got the correct argument form, you want to take that argument form and we're going to substitute these letters for these terms and write it out to where you get true premise and a false conclusion by substitution instance with these terms. Press pause. The answer is in 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's right. That's the correct one there. Notice the first premise, second premise true, conclusion false, shows that the argument form is invalid. And when the argument form is invalid, the original argument is invalid. Very good. All right, I think we got time for one more final practice problem. Listen to this argument. All restaurants are product providers. Accordingly, some health-conscious businesses are not product providers because some restaurants are not health-conscious businesses. Isn't that a confusing argument? Well, take that argument, substitute the terms for letters, and tell me what the correct argument form is. Write it out. Let me know which argument form best fits this argument. I'm going to give you the answer, so press pause. The answer is in 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's right. If you chose that one, you're correct. Notice the word accordingly is a conclusion indicator, so there's the conclusion follows. Now that you got the correct argument form, take that argument form and change these letters with these terms and write it out. Are you ready? Substitute those letters for these terms where you get true premise and a false conclusion. Press pause. The answer is 3, 2, 1. Ding! That's right. Notice you have true premise, false conclusion shows that the argument form, this is the original argument form, is invalid. When the argument form is invalid, the argument is invalid. Very good, very good. Now you know how to prove invalid arguments with the substitution instance. Now your time for your homework. Get some more practice problems. Find some arguments from some politicians or some TV commercials or whatever. Write it out, substitute the terms. Swap the terms with cats, fish, animals, or mammals. Does it get true premise, false conclusion? Check out our other videos for more help on logic. Thank you so much. Give yourself a big round of applause because that's all, folks. We'll see you in the next video and have a great day.